don't think I've spoiled too much here, but if you want to go in completely blind, honestly, why are you watching a YouTube review of this movie? My non-spoiler review. If you like Scream, if you like horror, if you like going to the movies, go see it.
There's certain rules to surviving.
Scream is fantastic, and I'm really happy.
Go finish it, Sydney.
I've been buzzing ever since I've seen it, and that is a good feeling, and it's finally dethroned Spider-Man No Way Home in the cinemas. Thankfully, a theatrical experience that can be enjoyed that does not involve Spider-Man, or Marvel, or even Neo. Scream 5 is very similar to The Matrix Resurrections in that it is a middle finger to the current requelling of Hollywood cinema, the overabundance of sequels, IP-driven franchise films and animated movies. It does all of the things that Matrix Resurrections does, but it also delivers the bang for your buck that you expect from this franchise. I like to think of this movie as if Matrix Resurrections wowed you with all the meta stuff and then delivered some thrilling action sequences that were on par with the original trilogy. Oh, imagine how good that movie would have been. This movie kind of gives you that, because the gore's there, the kills are there, they don't skimp out on delivering all of that, and there's some really great deaths. 13 Reasons Why gets it particularly bad. He just gets like the knife jammed into his neck. He doesn't get stabbed as many times as some of the other kids, but man, the way that unfolded, that was just fantastic. It felt awful. It's a Scream movie that could only come out today. It makes full use of Gen Z topics and millennial moaning and all these kinds of things, and it uses like phone tracking and security systems really, really well. So of course, amongst others, Neve Campbell, David Arquette and Courtney Cox are back. The big three. Are Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire in Scream 5? Yes, they're all here. And whenever they pop up, there's some swelling, triumphant music that just knows what it's doing in terms of how it's taking the piss out of all the times any Disney movie, whether it be Star Wars or Marvel, has generated a huge amount of fanfare from a character coming back, sometimes with very little substance. They really play into that with Sidney Prescott herself. She was obviously the lead character in the last 4 Scream movies. That's not true here. Not only that, but her conflict is very, very minimal. She just joins the group to help them stop the new Ghostface killer. We find out she's living a happy life. She's married with kids. Like, everything's all hunky dory, and that's great, because as much as we keep making these sequels, Sidney Prescott's been through a lot. So I think it's okay that in this movie she kind of has a semi-okay time. I mean, obviously it gets a bit hairy in the 3rd act, but in terms of her life outside of Woodsboro, it's nice that she's found some kind of peace. So you have a legacy character that pops up just for the fanfare in a knowing way, and then you have 2 other legacy characters in Gale Weathers and Dewey, who actually have some really nice conflict. They've been apart for a few years in a way that is kind of similar to how I see Han Solo and Leia in The Force Awakens. In fact, I'd say that Dewey was deliberately modelled after Han Solo in that movie in Scream 5, because he's definitely got that whole like retired gunslinger thing, taking up one more job going on. And he also has that kind of that Han Solo air from Force Awakens, where like he's filled with regrets, and he kind of wishes some things had gone a little better, and he perhaps wishes he hadn't been the character we know and love to go down that road. This week's sponsor is one you've no doubt heard of, NordVPN. You've probably heard about it for very good reason. If you're looking to improve and protect your online experience, NordVPN is your best bet. NordVPN offers many different features, such as a kill switch, which acts like the last line of defense from accidental data exposure. They also have a no logs policy, so you can be confident they don't keep any record of the data that passes through. NordVPN works on your computer or your mobile device, and you can connect up to 6 devices. My favourite feature whilst using NordVPN is being able to change my online location, allowing me to unlock content that I wouldn't normally be able to access in different countries. With a VPN, I can unlock the full power of this fully armed and operational Netflix subscription. But you knew that already. Come on. Why am I still talking? You need a VPN, I need a VPN, we all need a VPN. Go to nordvpn.com/fullfatvideos or click on my link in the description and use code fullfatvideos to get a 2-year plan with a huge discount plus 1 additional month free.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some oozing to do.
I thought the new characters were fun and likeable. It was just as much fun watching them escape from Ghostface's clutches as it was to watch them get just mercilessly stabbed to death. It was nice watching this the whole time because I feel like the directors, the Ready or Not guys, know Scream and they understand what Scream is about. One of the biggest questions surrounding this film, obviously it's the first one without Wes Craven, could it do it? Could it make itself feel like a legitimate installment in the Scream franchise? And yes, I think watching this from about 10 minutes in, I'd say I felt very comfortable with what these directors were going for and what their vision for Scream was. And I think sometimes with these sort of like long in the tooth sequel driven franchises, when they do swap over to different directors, sometimes fans of said material, I think they can be a bit too close to it and sort of miss the point of what those franchises are about in the first place. J.J. Abrams is a bit too much of a mega fan of Star Wars, and particularly the first 3 films, to really paint a canvas for a new sequel trilogy that was supposed to encompass all 6 films and everything else that happened in between. These guys get Scream. They know that you want the stabs, the meta commentary, the thrills. Will Dewey and Gale get together or not again? They know we want all that. They know we want Sidney Prescott, and that's all great. They deliver on everything you want from a Scream movie, but then they also manage to bring in fresh ideas and new kills, things that make it feel like an entirely unique thrill ride all its own. It's really kind of amazing that we're on Scream 5, and the franchise has never really dropped the ball. I'd probably say Scream 3 is the weakest installment, but all of them are pretty great. Also, I don't care what anyone says, this moment is genius.
It smells
Genius, Mr. Craven.
Do you even know how to kill me? I'm gonna...
They've got some great kills. There's some really great tension in all of them, some great performances, and it's just fantastic to have it back. As cool as it is to have Scream back, I do also hope that this leads people to go back to the director's previous movies, to Ready or Not.
We're gonna start the count. Good luck.
The Matrix Resurrections and Scream 5 both want you to know that an original movie would be better than either of these things. This film actually handles legacy characters infinitely better than the Star Wars sequel trilogy for a couple of reasons, but one of the most important ones I think is that all the Rey Palpatine stuff and like Lando having a daughter and all those different kinds of things, all these characters being related to other characters from the original trilogy and prequel trilogy, that always feels ridiculous when they're just crossing paths and everything's made up of coincidences in this big wide universe. The same couple of families are in all the pies. In this, there's a couple of characters that are related to previous characters in the series, but it doesn't feel inorganic to the story because, well, they're from Woodsboro, so of course it's a small American town. It makes perfect sense to see the children and grandchildren or whatever of previous Scream characters. And if anything, it works it to its benefit. I also think it deals with like toxic fandom culture in a really fun way. I've found personally more and more there's definitely been an increase in the toxicity online, which I know is kind of insane to even quantify considering, you know, even internet fandom in 2012. But I think it's definitely gotten much worse. It's definitely become more and more a very us and them kind of dichotomy of if you do like the movie, you're one of us. If you don't like the movie, you're one of them. And like for example, like on my Spider-Man rankings video, I put the Spider-Man Raimi movies towards the top because I think they're the better movies. And that's my personal opinion. That's like my take after watching all the Spider-Man solo movies. And it's up to me, right? But no, apparently people like to say, I kept coming across this multiple times and I find it so baffling. Raimi bias. You have Raimi bias. You have Tugboat bias. You have Green Goblin bias. It's like, well, I mean, I guess you're using bias in the right context, but like not really. I mean, I have bias for these things as much as I prefer one to the other because they're meant to be enjoyed. So it's really bizarre to me. Yeah, when I think about it, I really think I prefer oranges to apples. Orange bias. I can't get through the rest of this video because you said that. Fuck you for having that opinion, and fuck you for thinking that way with your orange bias. You're so biased. It's okay to be a die-hard fan of a franchise. It's okay to love these things. But I think you should take each installment, each new piece of material that adds to your favourite sci-fi or fantasy worlds, and you should take them each step at a time and judge them on their own merits. And I feel like more and more people have like preconceived notions about whether these big blockbuster films are going to suck or they're going to be awesome before they come out, and then after they come out, they kind of double down on them, and if you had a different opinion, well, fuck you. And it's just kind of ridiculous. Sometimes movie criticism feels like it's been watered down to a pass or fail, and that judgment has to be instantaneous as soon as the film comes out. Martin Scorsese has said that we're not ruminating on films as much and letting them wash over us and coming to new conclusions over time, and I think that's absolutely spot on. Like, over time with this movie, even though I liked it a lot, it might come bottom in my rankings because I love Scream 3 and 4 so much, and obviously 1 and 2. But, you know, that's something that will come with time, and that's what's kind of fun about watching these in the first place, no? Really kind of calls that out in a hilarious way, because it looks pathetic in the movie, and it's because it is. Like, at the end of the day, all of these things are just movies. If I think the X-Men shouldn't be rebooted in the MCU, and you do, who gives a fuck? It really doesn't matter. I just want to see some more violence back on screen and some more thrills. And if it's going to look like Scream, gimme, gimme, gimme. It is a cliche to say that Hollywood is out of ideas, but it's never been truer than right now. And I love that Scream 5 is here to dunk on it in all the best ways possible. In terms of ranking it amongst the others, I'm really not sure where I would place it, because it would probably come relatively low on the list amongst the other Scream movies, but I think all of them are pretty great. So, like, you know, like whichever one you pick, you can't really go wrong. And I just think like most of the other Scream movies are probably going to edge this one out no matter what, because they're always coming from a place of more creativity. They're fresher, they've got more original ideas, and they're not working from like 4 previous sequels. And also, they've got that sweet 90s aesthetic. So, yeah, 2022 just can't top that. I'm sorry. The universe of Scream is so perfect because you can have the characters talking about the Stab movies, talking about the Scream movies, talking about horror in general, and then you can also have them using those tropes and facts and their knowledge of movies to out other characters and accuse other characters of being the killer and form different relationships, and that's all really fun to see in this one, especially when the killer is revealed. Seems counterintuitive to say that I want more Scream movies, but if they're going to be as good as this one, and it's a choice between Scream 6 or, as Ben Affleck would put it, sequel IP animated movies, then at least this one's got some oomph and some energy to it. And as well, with horror franchises, you can churn them out without it just completely combusting the entire canon. Just keep chucking more Ghostface killers out there. Why not? Maybe in the meantime we could make some original ideas as well. At a time when the theatre experience is dwindling more and more, I think Scream is the perfect movie to be an antidote to PG-13 action adventures, and I think you'll have a great time if you go and see it. It is incredibly infuriating that they didn't quintuple down and give us Scream 5 as the title rather than Scream, because now whenever I have to search for it, I'm going to have to put in Scream 2022. The problem is most reboots or sequels where you've already named the thing, you can just add the to the title. The Batman, the Wolverine, the Suicide Squad, the Final Destination. But you can't do the Scream, unfortunately. Although it would be pretty funny if Scream 6 was called that, because it would be so stupid. So yeah, they called this one Scream, which is a shame. Would have loved it to have been called Scream 5, but they do make a good joke about it in the movie, so it kind of gets away with it. A little bit. Would have been nice if it was called Scream officially, but the end credits came up and it was called Scream 5, just so it could just really hammer that home. Because, you know, one thing I did really like about the Disney Star Wars movies is they did say Episode 7, Episode 8, Episode 9, the title crawls. Maybe I could have done without that in Episode 9. Could have done without the whole thing happening, maybe just the screen catching a light, really. If the formula for requels and reboots wasn't clear to moviegoers by now, it will be after they've seen Scream 5, because it breaks it down to a T. The way that legacy characters are used, the way that new characters are introduced, the way that the stakes are raised. It pinpoints all of the calculated moves that these IP-driven movies make, and it plays them out itself, does them better, and then also subverts them. So there's a lot of things going on with the movie all at once, and it's a lot of fun to watch it unfold. My favourite nepotism baby, Jack Quaid, killed in the movie. The girl from You was good as well. 13 Reasons Why was pretty good. The guy from Booksmart was in it as well. Basically, any teenager you can remember from anything that came out recently, they're in this. The Psycho from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, she's in this as well. Fantastic. Yeah, so the cast is pretty much great top to bottom, whether it be new characters or returning characters. And you don't ever get annoyed or bored when we're spending too much time on the new characters. You know, probably by the time Gale and Dewey have been introduced, that it's going to handle all these characters in a really fun way. I'm not going to lie, I was a bit worried in this day and age that they would shy away from the gore and from the violence and the beatdowns, but they didn't. So many of these characters get it so bad. So yeah, Scream 5, or Scream, a fantastic start to the year. I know a lot of you have been saying I've been very negative lately. In truth, that's not quite true. I gave Spider-Man and Matrix positive to mixed reviews. But yeah, this one I really unashamedly liked, and it sets a good standard for the year, good high bar for the year. If you'd like to help support the channel by donating to Patreon, you can find me on patreon.com/fullfatvideos. Even $1 will go a long way. You can find me on Twitter at fullfatvideos and on Instagram at full_fat_videos. And you can find me on Letterboxd if you want to tear into my opinions at Matt Whittle, I think, or at fullfatvideos. It's one of the two. It takes you 2 seconds to search it. It takes me 2 seconds to search it and find out before the video comes on, but, you know, I'm lazier than you.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some oozing to do.
A big thank you to my full fat tier patron, Dr. Chike. Yes, next week I will be doing a video on Leggett.